Good morning, Grand Rapids. We're here again with GR Giving Day to chat with nonprofits and hear from them and hear what they need and how they can get your support. I'm Jonathan Tasman with Hockeystick Video, speaking with Dr. Keli Christopher with STEM Greenhouse. How are you doing today, Keli?
I'm great. I'm glad to be here.
It's awesome to have you. Can you give us just a little bit of your history and like how you came to this place today?
Sure. Well, I'm from Grand Rapids, and I decided to go into engineering after I left high school. I went to Ottawa Hills High School, and I got a bachelor's degree from North Carolina A&T State University, and then I went to the University of Illinois for my master's and PhD in agricultural engineering. In doing so, I was in a lot of spaces where there weren't a lot of people that looked like me, and I wanted to make sure the next generation had the supports they needed to succeed in STEM fields, which really required a very rigorous math and science education. So I wanted to make sure that all kids had access to the level of rigor that would be required to get a PhD in engineering one day.
Awesome. Now you're talking about your journey here, did you simply use that as the fuel to start STEM Greenhouse, or did you see other needs and you were like, because it started with a seed and then kind of probably blossomed is my guess.
Well, I realized that there were very few people that had my experience and expertise. A lot of people who do STEM programming, maybe they're an educator that doesn't really understand what it means to get an engineering degree. Maybe they're an engineer or a scientist that doesn't really understand what it's like to be a person of color in that space. And I decided to do it also because of the need. You know, in our county, very low proficiency levels in math and science for children of color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say, I believe it's 1 in 12 Black 11th graders are proficient in science. So the need to improve the proficiency levels in math and science for children of color is very great. And oftentimes these children, it's a financial, they don't have the resources to perhaps go to a certain school or even have transportation to go wherever they want. They have to go to their local schools. And so we would just want to make sure that those schools will prepare them for the rigor of a engineering program when they get to high school. And when I started with middle school because that's when students sort of decide what their path or trajectory is going to be in terms of their career usually. So if they determine after elementary school that they're not a math person, then that's not going to happen. But if we can get them to believe that they can achieve those things, then they'll have, then that will be an option for them. Our goal isn't for every student we work with to become an engineer or a scientist, but we want them to have that option. So proficiency in math and science will give them more options.
Right.
So that's really what it's about.
That makes sense. So try and start them early to go, hey, you might have written yourself off because of elementary school, but I want to get you back on track to go, this is an option if you want to, and we'll work with you to make sure it happens.
Well, and even when I think about when I was little, I really hated math when I was in the 3rd grade when they were doing all that, the multiplication tables and the memorization. And it was so stressful. And I had so much anxiety about those. They were timed and everything. I hated those. But what I learned as I got older was that math really wasn't memorization. Early on in in your math career as an elementary school student, it's just how quickly can you run off various math, math addition, subtraction, whatever.
Yeah.
So now, but once you get into math more fully, it's more thinking involved, and it's not about multiplication tables anymore.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you did the mad minutes, but it sounds like you did, where they're just like standing over you with like a stopwatch, and you're like, I forgot all the things. Right. Whatever you taught me last week, I don't remember.
So stressful. And also, one of the first programs that I started when I started STEM Greenhouse was a math club for girls. And that was because when I was growing up, I did not know any women who liked math. Sometimes just, if you don't see any other women doing math, enjoying math, you will just assume that it's not for you. So I wanted them to understand that there are women who like math. You can do this too. I think it's powerful that we provide those role models for our students.
Yeah, that's really cool. So how does it work? How does STEM Greenhouse work?
Yeah, we have 5 signature programs now, and usually you have to attend a particular school, and we will partner with a school to offer the programming after school. Some of our programming is during the school day, especially like at our high school program, some of our middle school programs. But then we have an academy that's in the summertime. We have it at GRCC in Aquinas, and that's the Sankofa STEM Academy. That's for students in 5th grade through 12th grade. And for the high school students, it's actually a job as well. So,
Really?
yeah, it's their job to teach a STEM curriculum to the younger students, not only in our program, but in the community. So they get a taste of what it's like to teach, which,
That's cool.
yeah, it's a learning experience for sure. So we hire about 40 students, and we have some students who decide to go into education because of that experience.
Wow.
But even if they don't decide to go into education, there's just those great leadership skills, public speaking skills. How do you develop a lesson plan? There's a
Yeah.
lot of good things that you can learn from that sort of thing.
Well, that's going to be one of my follow-up questions is what is it like for them to like, I remember the first time I did a little bit of public speaking in like a class or something, and it was terrifying. And you're like, I have to talk for 5 minutes and you're done in a minute 30. And you're like,
Right.
what do I have to do now?
Well, in our summer academy, they do team teach. So they're with 3 other people.
Okay.
And so they will all have a responsibility. You know, they work that out amongst themselves, who does what part. And so it's not quite as intimidating as perhaps if you were by yourself with a group full of middle school students. But I will say that I think it also gives them some empathy for educators. As a, you know, if you've had a job of trying to teach somebody, hopefully when they go back to school, they will have a little empathy for their instructors who are trying to teach them things.
Yeah. That's crazy. I think it's cool that you like, you have your vision, but you're even doing like little other things just along the journey.
Exactly. I mean, first we started with the middle school after school program. Then we were getting students that were so far behind in math that we decided we needed an elementary program. Because it would be really great if we had those kids at grade level in middle school, then we could really go far. But if we can't, if they're so far behind. And then that led to a program because, maybe we were seeing 25 kids after school, but everybody in that school building needs science. And if they don't have a science instructor, we decided to have a program where we started teaching science during the school day to all of the students in a middle school. And then we started our summer academy because we could have some accelerated learning opportunities for students who really wanted to get ahead or just catch up. So in the summertime, I counted last summer, we taught 11 different math classes, all at different levels from very basic math all the way up to pre-calculus. And so those kids who are advanced can do advanced stuff. The kids who are behind can get behind. The kids who are at grade level can advance as well. So it's really customized for the student in the summertime, and we get really good results. But then I had all these middle school students, and it's like if you're 12 years old and you're like, good luck going becoming an engineer. We needed to continue that mentoring. So we partnered with Innovation Central High School, which already had a STEM academy, to have sort of a pipeline for our students to continue with the mentoring through high school.
That's awesome. I love to hear this story. But it leads me to a question, like, can you share some of the success stories you've seen? Like, you've been doing this, you just told me a little bit before we started recording that you guys just did 10 years.
Yeah.
And so, like, I want to hear, like, at least 2-3 stories of just, like, the success that you've gotten to see as you've seen these kids grow up.
Sure. Well, we've only had our high school program for maybe a year and a half. So we haven't always been able to follow them all the way through. But I do have some of my students that were from the first group of, like some of those students that were in my girls' math club when I first started, they're in graduate school right now. Like that's how long ago that was. And then I have some students that were in my first middle school program that now they are, they're in college. But I will say, okay, I'll give you a couple of quick results. So one of the early years of us doing the after school program, we had an outside evaluator who was evaluating all the STEM programs in West Michigan. And at the end of the school year, they did, their test scores, their math scores before and after. The students in our program have 4 times more growth in math than any other program.
Wow.
And then in our summer academy, the first year that I did that, we had 50 students. The average student improved 2 grade levels in math computations in 5 weeks. So we've always been able to curate these spaces because they're spaces that are designed for children of color. Typically STEM academies are not designed with them in mind. So I think that's one of the reasons they're so successful. Plus the fact that I have firsthand experience of going through this. I know what is needed more than, your average person, more than just the academic piece, but the confidence that you need, believing in yourself and all of those things that help you become successful in this.
Yeah. How do you help kids grow in confidence?
Well, sometimes it's just having people that look like you that are working with you. If they can see me, and I started at the school that I went to, and Dr. Christopher has a PhD in engineering. She went to my school. It starts opening your mind to what you can believe, like you can become for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in addition, the fact that I was just working with them so consistently, like they knew I loved them and that I cared about them. And when you're treated like you're special, you start to believe that you're special. I don't know. That's sort of how that works. So some of that confidence also just came from that growth. I remember I never made a student feel embarrassed, when they couldn't add numbers or, we didn't operate that way. And all of our math was more game focused. So we were having fun. And we did science as well. But by just over the years, like if you could imagine doing math games, twice a week after school for 3 years, I mean, you're just getting better at it.
Yeah.
By the time they would get out of 8th grade, they were just stronger than when they came in at 6th grade. So just seeing themselves improve, if you were playing a game, like even a video game, you're just getting better and better at it. It's the same way with them. And so they're growing that confidence, like I can do better in math. I didn't know I could, but I can. And then it used to be kind of difficult to recruit students to this program, but it isn't anymore because the other students just tell, their friends about how much fun they're having.
So it's caught fire and it's just spreading.
It's spreading. I wish we could serve even more students. And we're up to about 1,000 students a year now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It is. It's very cool. But we need, that's not even enough. So.
Right. Well, that leads into the next question. How can Grand Rapids get involved?
Well, of course, they can always give. This Giving Tuesday is a great opportunity. But then there are other ways to give. I had a group paint a new office for me, just random things like that. Donate snacks because kids eat a lot, especially middle school students, high school students. And but then we're also looking for, if you have a STEM business, we want the kids to understand various careers. They're not exposed to very many careers typically.
Okay.
So people who have, or maybe they have a STEM career or they are working for a STEM company, we can coordinate tours or speakers and things like that. That's very helpful. Because you know how it is when you're a kid, 3 careers, a fireman, policeman, teacher, So, but then you have to have a somewhat fun career, like some people are like, I'm a logistics manager, and the kids are looking like, what in the world is that? But they have to be introduced to new careers as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to be an astronaut, so
that's one of them.
It's one of the special ones where you're I know the top 4 or top 5.
Right. Everybody knows the same careers, but there are so many STEM careers. And for me, as someone who started getting good in math and science later in high school, I did not really desire robotics. And so many people think that that's all that STEM is robotics. And I started learning about environmental engineering and decided to kind of take that path, but no one had introduced me to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was like there's, even among STEM, there's a feeling that, healthcare is included. There's so many different fields that are included. but the kids don't get an opportunity to learn about them. So that's another way that people who might be interested in, sharing their expertise or their career with students, that would be helpful.
So whether it's volunteering to help paint or like do some sort of activity or task with STEM Greenhouse, or it's a business who wants to come and mentor, or even like internships maybe, where they just let the
interns
kids
would be
come
great.
shadow for the day or for the week.
Yeah, those
say,
type
"Hey."
of opportunities would be great because, as you could imagine, it's a lot of work for anybody who decides they want to do some like a mentoring or even it's a big commitment. So if someone wants to do that, though, yes, please connect with us so we can connect you to our high school program.
Awesome. Will do. Well, I expect that hopefully this will get the word out so people can know they can come and jump on board. The last thing I want to touch on is you just told me earlier that you won an award.
Oh, yeah.
Share that with us as we wind down the podcast this morning.
Yeah, STEM Greenhouse just won an award from the Governor's Service Awards, and we won in the Youth Impact category. And they honored, I don't know, maybe about 28 organizations around the state, and we're the only Grand Rapids organization represented. So super proud of that. Yeah. But I also am proud because it shows that the work we're doing is getting even outside of Grand Rapids. People are starting to recognize it in other places as well. It's definitely unique. I don't know any other organization doing what we're doing.
Yeah. This is the first I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, very different work.
That's cool. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dr. Keli, and telling us all about what's going on at STEM Greenhouse. Reminder for Grand Rapids folks, you can come and get involved. You can either donate with Grand Rapids Giving Day, or you can volunteer. If you've got a business and want to have some students come shadow, there's a full selection of folks willing to sign up.
Yes, you can go to my website, stemgreenhouse.org.
Perfect. And are you on LinkedIn or any socials that people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, we are on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay, perfect.
So please check us out.
STEM Greenhouse, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us.
All right, I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.